Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. We have a very unique course to discuss today, MSc Development Administration and Planning. The aim of this course is to provide students with necessary expertise to make a positive contribution to development. The program is particularly attractive to anthropologists, lawyers, public administrators, economists, and politicians. We are joined by Jahanavi Sharma from University College of London to share more information on the topic. Hi, Jahanavi, how are you?
Hi, I am doing very well. How are you?
I am doing great and welcome, Janvi. I remember from our previous conversation that you're the first Indian in this course in the last 3 years at UCL, right?
Yes, that's true.
So
Yeah.
how's that feeling before we dive into the whole conversation?
Oh, it's been so well. So I've been here for about 4 months now. I came here on 21st September. So I think I feel like a veteran rather than a rookie at this point, because I have tried to navigate my way through the course, through my life in London. So it feels amazing. So far, it's been absolutely great. And I'm really liking my time here, especially in my course. So as you did say that I am the first Indian in this course for the past 3 years. And this is surprising because some of my tutors are from India. And in fact, this course is in itself very focused on the global south, that is countries in Africa and Latin America and Asia. So it was very surprising for me. But at the same time, I am trying to do my best to represent India in the best light possible and to find solutions for global problems that are also affecting India, like poverty and climate change, and to find solutions for that. Yes.
Great, great. And I'm pretty sure you are doing justice to the role over there, that this pressure that you have on yourself that you're only Indian in the last 3 years. So you're definitely going to do justice to that. Now,
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
start in the whole conversation. And I know a lot of information that we have discussed earlier, but the viewers are not aware about this. So how has been your journey so far at University College London?
All right, so I'll give a bit of background so that people could relate to my journey, because I think a lot of people are in the same boat. So I did my graduation as an undergrad. I did political science, BA political science from Hindu College, University of Delhi. And I believe when I was in school, there was a lot of pressure to do political science because people thought that oh my God, we'll get a job at the UN and it's going to be amazing. You're going to be leading NGOs. But I think it was much more than that. And there was always this pressure to apply for the public services examinations as well. So I think people who guided me were sure that political science could be an asset for me. But while I did not realize this when I was in my undergraduation, I definitely realized the importance of studying political science now, especially in the course that I am doing. And a lot of people, right after graduation, right after their undergrad, they feel stuck. They feel like they have to commit because they've already given 3 years of their lives to one degree, and now they have to go through with it, which I think which in my opinion, I was very clear that I'm not going to do the same. I'm not going to do a master's in political science. And that's why I found an allied field, a field that had a little more niche, and where I could carve myself a space where I could actually do impactful stuff and learn so much and do research. So I think that's how I came about it. So my journey to UCL was very interesting. I graduated in the COVID batch. It was horrible. We did not get a farewell. We did not even get to visit college for one last time after COVID. So I was very clueless as to what to do. I started delving into a lot of things. I picked up a lot of internships. I worked with student organizations and startups. And I was just trying to get a sense of what kind of a life I want and how to achieve that academically. And after that, it was a surprise. I was actually looking to apply for the year 2023. That's right now. But as I was browsing through different universities, most college deadlines had already been passed, and so did the scholarship deadlines, which really broke my heart. But I found this course in UCL that I thought was absolutely perfect, and the deadline was in 2 days. I had no purpose of statement, nothing, no SOP, no, my CV was not updated. I had no references, no idea about the IELTS exam. And I just decided to apply, just go for it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? So I wrote my SOP in 2 days and contacted my professors and my internship project leaders for their references. And everything just like sort of fell into place. I, in fact, submitted my deadline 10 minutes, submitted my application 10 minutes before the deadline. So it was crazy. It was very last minute, but I was confident that I'm going to get in, and I did. And now I'm here. So I had 2 months to move across, like move continents. I applied in June. I think later part of the June, I think 30th June. I got my confirmation by 31st July. And then I had to come here in September. So that's how my journey has been so far.
It has been a roller coaster, I can say that. But your
Truly.
positive attitude towards the whole situation, that what can go wrong, just in case, let me apply.
Right.
Just in case if it
Right.
doesn't fall, that's fine. You know the process. Next time you're going to be more, on time for that. But yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's this thing, God only help those who are ready to help themselves. So I
Yeah.
think in your case, it fits perfectly, really well. You mentioned about political science and other, bachelor courses. We'll definitely circle back to that conversation in our
Sure.
next question. But before we do, in order to pursue this course, there's always assumption that study abroad is a very heavily paid affair. It's a very expensive affair, which is not incorrect completely, but not true also in many ways. So
Right.
how did you pursue your course? What were your funding options? Keeping this in mind that you had such a short window to apply for everything. You were not
Right.
like applying for this 2022, you were about to apply for 2023. So you did not plan anything for that. So what
Not at
funding
all.
option
Yeah.
did you consider, and how did whole thing went with the banks and everything?
All right, sure. So I was again very clueless about the entire procedure. And that's why I advise people as well that it's better to fill out your application form yourself, to find out universities and do your research, because I think in the process you learn so much. Because I feel I now have a well-rounded idea of what my course is, what the university is, and like how much importance do I place to the university and the course, and how do I balance between the two. So I would definitely suggest not to go for agents, because there are many agents in the market trying to influence students. They charge huge sums of money to do a simple online application, which honestly does not. And I would also suggest people to write their own SOPs, because I think student administration and like admission services people could actually figure out what SOPs people students have written, and how many of them are agent written, because I think it's very important to acknowledge and know your truth while you're writing the SOP. You can be as heartfelt, you can be as smart, you can talk about yourself as much. So I think that's one window, because in foreign universities mostly there's no interview per se. So, I mean, you have to let your personality shine through your SOP. So that's my number one advice. And with respect to the financing options, so I was very lucky that my parents were they agreed to fund my education here, because in my household education is very, very important, but they also believe that I have to be financially independent. So I had some money saved. So I put that money as well. And then since I was really late and all the scholarships had been exhausted by then, university living also came to my rescue, and I got your social impact scholarship, which was amazing, which really eased off some of the burden I had with respect to how expensive here it is in London, especially with respect to the accommodation. The tuition fees there, definitely. But then I think the added expenses make it all the more expensive. So I think another crucial advice I have for people is to not just chase cities. It's better to chase universities, especially in the top 50. For example, UCL is ranked 8th in the world. And if it was some other rank, I may not have agreed to, I may not be wholeheartedly into the idea of spending so much for a degree, for a university that's probably maybe in the top 100, but not in the top 50. So I think it's very important. My always like the rule of thumb was probably go for the top 10 universities. It could differ for different courses and different people. It could be top 50 universities, because here a lot of people have come to the UK and they're not really enjoying it, because the education standards are at all universities are not the same. People think that it's UK, but it's actually the university. They set the rules, they hire the professors. So everything's very, very unique in every university. So I see a lot of people being stuck here and then really not enjoying their courses or their professors. They genuinely feel that they could get better education in India and save like 50 lakh rupees or more, because it's really expensive coming here, especially for an undergrad. I came here as a postgraduate, and I am very proud of this decision, because as an undergraduate, there's so many things that you have to worry about. And if you're coming here, that means you're easily committing to at least 5 to 10 years of your life abroad if you're coming here as an undergraduate. That's not the case as a postgraduate. So I think that's definitely one advice that I would love to give future applicants and people who are considering coming to any country whatsoever. And so I did not have to make the bank runs. Thankfully, a lot of my friends did, and they took some loans, and that's, I think, the better way to go about it. But I also realized my privilege and the position that I was because of my parents. Thankfully, they agreed, and the scholarship really helped. Yeah.
Great. And with respect to part that you mentioned that you chase the university, not the country, creates a very clear impact in any student's life, because we always talk about this conversation that do your research well. And when we say research, it means that you do research well about your course. Don't go to any country or any course because your friend is going or your parents are saying or someone from family is there. You are making your life. Ultimately, this course, this decision that you're taking will impact your life 3 years post. So yeah, and of course, in undergraduate, there are multiple things. You're not very clear why you're pursuing this course, what's going to be the future of this course. While where you go for post-graduation, you're very much filtered around that, okay, I have done this. And you were very clear that you don't want to do masters in political science, because you got the taste of that particular course and realized that this is something that I would like to study, but not like to pursue as my full-time career. So that gives a very clear picture for any student. And I think it's a great advice that you shared during the answer. Now, coming back to my previous part where you mentioned about political science, is that what eligibility criteria are important for this particular course? And what exactly does this course entail with respect to your university?
Right. So when I was going through the webpage, my course is MSc. So I have a BA background. That's a Bachelor's of Arts, and this is a Master's of Science. So I knew it's going to be intensive. It's going to be intensive research oriented course. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So you have to also like read between the lines, think about everything, what career prospects. So I had to do everything in 2 months. Most people are going to have much more time to decide. So thankfully, everything worked out for me. I am absolutely loving my course. There were a couple of eligibility criteria. So obviously, mostly it was good grades. Having a good academic record was very crucial in determining if you're going to make it to UCL or not. Because especially in my department, that's the Bartlett Development Planning Unit department. It's world ranked 2, I believe, in terms of planning and architecture and urban studies. So the pressure was like, I could feel the pressure. The pressure was on. And so you have to get a good GPA. A good GPA could mean I think above 7.5. That's the least that you have to do. And a lot of people just like end up focusing on the IELTS score or the TOEFL score. I think that's not really important. That's just like a basic minimum criteria that you have to meet. I got an 8.5 out of 9. So I think it was not especially difficult for me. I just like gave the test. And I think the other crucial thing that a lot of people just tend to ignore or not pay that much attention to is the purpose, like the personal statement or the statement of purpose. That's the SOP. And that is your only gateway to, shining your, like letting your personality shine, and letting the interviewer or letting the admission officer know who you are and why should they choose you. So I think I worked really hard on my SOP. For the 2 days that I had, I gave it around 12 hours. I was working on it like 12 hours a day. I was exhausted, but it was like really worth it. Also, you must have a good CV in terms of volunteering, in terms of internship experience, if in terms of leadership positions as well in your school life or in your undergraduate life. So that was very important. And I think what sealed the deal for me was the references. My professor and my internships. I did an internship with Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, and they're my project lead and gave me a glorious reference letter. And that was, I think, that sealed the deal. And I'm very grateful to both of my referencees for their excellent reference letters. And yeah, so that's all I needed to get accepted here.
Great. And about the course, if you talk about what exactly, if you can share a little more detail about this course,
Sure.
because as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, that this is a very unique course that we're going to discuss. And we haven't seen many students, and you are, of course, the first Indian over there in
Yeah.
3 years. So there is no more, like, there are not many students pursuing this course, but this might be of interest for many. So if they can have an understanding from you, because you are currently studying right now, so you are kind of subject expert. So please share more details about the course that is over there.
Absolutely. So I had no clue about urban studies or urban planning because I think this field is still in a very nascent emerging state in India. And you don't get to hear about urban planning that much because everything is just like government control. But a different private consultancies are also coming up who are taking urban planning and development under their wings. And yeah, so the first time I got to know about it was just a very general information. But now I can tell you that it is an excellent field for somebody who is interested in making an impact as well, a real-time impact that they could actually see. And so it entails a lot of things. So we're currently studying about development. What's development? What are its metrics? For example, poverty elevation and the different tools that can help ease climate change. So you're studying all the problems of the world, and then you're studying potential solutions to them, solutions that have been successful in the past or have failed in the past, and why, and the reasons for them. So I think it's very practice oriented course because we don't read anything without context. For example, everything, for example, if we study a scheme or a tool or a mechanism that was applied in XYZ country, we're studying about countries all over the world. So that really lured me into the course as well. And I'm loving it more and more each day this is very different to me. So like in political science, it was mostly theoretical. And we were studying about these ancient Greek philosophers and the different theories. Here it's completely different. So here the theory is only supplementing the practice, which is excellent. So I think it's like 60% practice and perhaps 40% theory, making the base for it because you need it. And yeah, so it's very real life oriented. I'm studying about city planning and how cities should be planned, and participatory planning, how to involve people in planning, and how to make it more bottoms up rather than top down. And we're also studying about colonialism, gender rights, racial rights, about people from all over the backgrounds, how to make planning more exclusive, cities more people oriented. So all of it, there's a lot of different schemes going on. So I think it is niche, yet it is very general in the sense that you can navigate your own way through it. So there are a lot of career opportunities in the same. I would like to expand on that. So as I came here, I had no clue. I mean, when my relatives asked me, for example, so what are you going to do next? It was a very difficult question. And I could feel it because I had no clue. But now I can tell you, and I think people are going to be helped by the fact that there are a lot of different opportunities. Maybe not entirely in India, because in India, as I said, it's still an emerging sort of a field. But abroad, like I see it every day here. For example, if you are more into the social work sector, you could definitely work at NGOs and charities. And people just have this image that NGOs have to be, asking for money, completely dependent. That's not
Which
the
is
case,
not the
actually.
case.
which is not absolutely the case, because there are so many NGOs here and who are doing some brilliant work, and they have a lot of funding, and they're actually looking forward to making a real life and a real-time impact. So that's one. The other is you can join a development and planning company as a consultant. So that's also, if you want to go into a corporate job. So definitely that's the way that could be for you. And there are a lot of jobs available for that. And then there are international development agencies like the UN, and there are development banks that are looking to hire. There are different foundations, for example, the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation and other, like, who are investing their money into these development projects. So you can work as a consultant for them, as well as them definitely MNCs who are looking to do CSR activities. So everywhere, like whoever's putting their money into development activities, you can work for them, honestly. And you can work on ground as well. You can work as a freelancing development practitioner. You can work as a planner. You can work with the governments, definitely. In India, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult pathway to navigate your way through the government because there are a lot of barriers there. But however, it's pretty easy here in different countries, where you can attach yourself as an international student, as an immigrant, to the government and work on planning.
Makes sense. So what I understood, that this course, the practice of this course is applicable in all part of sectors. It's just you need to identify that, and then you have to move into that pathway.
Absolutely.
And I believe if you would have studied bachelor's in UK, you would have learned political science as well, because it was more theoretical over here. So that maybe made it a little boring. But yeah, India is also moving towards this, and people have started recognizing now being smart cities in the picture and everything.
Absolutely,
I'm sure, it will turn out more job opportunities for someone who has pursued this course. Great. Thank you so much for giving such great detail on this. I'm pretty sure many of the students are now sorted with this question, that what is going to be the future, and if their relatives going to ask what you're going to do in future, they have the answer ready with them, thanks to you.
Right. Thank you.
Now, you've already mentioned that UCL ranked 8th number among the ranking system, and that's why you went for UCL. But apart from that, what other things makes UCL different from any other UK university with respect to this course?
Right. So there are a lot of things. So I got to know, like, as I learned more and more each day, honestly, about the department, about the university. So as I came here, definitely the prestige of UCL is felt immediately as you come to London. I mean, the accommodation that I'm staying at is a mixed university accommodation. So there are people from a lot of different universities within London. And as soon as people asked me like which university I was from, and I used to tell them I'm from University College London, I mean, I could see a spark in their eyes. Like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And so I could feel that almost immediately. And within college, I think the wealth of knowledge the university provides you with, and the different amenities, and the professors, for example, the professors are brilliant. Absolutely. They are doing some amazing research work. So they're independent researchers as well. And they're teaching us what they've actually created and learned so far in the process, and what they plan to do ahead. So they're actually development practitioners. So that's why I say it's very practical oriented. They're not teachers per se, but then they're actually people who are in the field, in the industry, and living the reality of the field every day, and that they're imparting their knowledge to you. And so I think that was amazing. Another thing that really interested me and still interests me in my course is that it is, as I said, very practice oriented. And we're going for a research trip to Sao Paulo, Brazil, this May, for 2 weeks. So I think this practice orientation, where I can add one more thing to my CV and also add researching skills, because this was something missing in my undergraduate degree, where I could not really get many opportunities to work on my research skills. I still I'm learning. That's why I'm still like putting my energy into learning how to write good research papers, how to come up with research proposals in terms of references, and how to plan your time here and how to plan your research. So I think that also really interested me here. The student life is absolutely amazing. I mean, they expect you to work really hard, and at the same time, they're really here for you. Their mental health cells. There's a student center that's open 24 hours for somebody who's not able to study at their accommodation, perhaps. So it's very convenient. I mean, I could honestly like look myself living here for a couple of years just as a UCL student. Thankfully, I wouldn't have to, but then still, I wouldn't mind that, is what I'm saying. And so UCL provides you with a lot of opportunities. And I think the biggest takeaway that you can get is the placements as well. Because if you have UCL and especially Bartlett, so Bartlett is their flagship department, one of their flagship departments. They have so many. And it's very important as a Bartlett student to work on my skills. And all the employers can actually see it, because I think the employers also have a trust in the university. For example, if they see a person coming from Bartlett UCL, and if they a UCL student, for example. So I mean, your horizon also widens, your opportunities widen. I mean, they also are more interested to talk to you and to learn more about you, the employers, like from a job point of view. So that's also very important. And what else I'm thinking about is so much has happened in the past 4 months, honestly. And I think there are a lot of activities. So you can never be bored at UCL. There's something or the other happening every day. There's so many societies and clubs. There's so many meetups happening. And yeah, it just keeps you on your toes. But still, it's very, very fun.
Yeah, I was about to ask you this question in a couple of minutes only. That what kind of clubs are there? Now, when you have mentioned, let's go ahead and discuss this. So, what kind of clubs are there at the university? And it's always said to there are some specific clubs with respect to job opportunities. So,
Right.
can you suggest some clubs for students and just emphasis on what activities that you mentioned that there are many meetups keep on happening? So, what kind of activities happen at university so that everybody is engaged, even an international student?
Right. So, I mean, as with respect to international students, I think 50% of postgrads at UCL are international students. I mean, I think more. So you wouldn't feel, and London in itself is a very international city. I mean, I think you're going to find more international students than Brits here. So definitely that gives you a sense of home, plus also puts you out of your comfort zone where you have to talk to people from all over the world. And that's also, that's one more thing about UCL that I absolutely love. For example, in my class, I might be the only Indian, but I have friends from the US, France, Colombia, Egypt, Libya, and Pakistan, many other countries. And all of us are working together day after night. And then we're so excited to share culture with each other as well. I took them for a South Indian lunch for the other day. And one of my friends took us to a Libyan restaurant. So I think London is the true melting pot of cultures. So I think you realize that as well. And then you feel, and like while it may be a new country, you suddenly just feel at home, because there's so many people around you who are also going through the same thing. And there are many Indians here, many Indians here. So I think you just like find your tribe that way. And as far as the societies go, again, there's definitely the country-wise societies. For example, UCL has an Indian society that helps you meet other Indians in UCL. And if you have any other problems, so they have different events. I have not joined the society per se yet, but I've heard that they have some crazy events. They have some Garba nights and Diwali parties and things like that. And other societies, there are definitely some really unique societies like the Bubble Tea Society or the Puzzle Society. So, I mean, whatever your interests can be,
You will
UCL has
find a
a society
society.
for.
related to that,
Absolutely.
or you can
And
just make one society related to
exactly.
that.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that. And if you don't, you can just register one. Honestly, start your own society. I believe there's a knitting society as well. And there's a cat lovers society. So, I mean, all the interests, like all your interests will be catered, definitely. And as with respect to the career oriented societies, there are also many. So, like in India, also we have placement cells. So, I would suggest people to actually be a part of the placement cell, so you understand the psyche of the employers as well, what kind of people they're looking for, because in your interactions you would get to know the keywords and the key roles that they're employing for, and you can also definitely apply for the same. So I think that also gives you a perspective of the employer. And there are many societies like the finance society and the development society. So these are more department and the subject oriented societies. So I think you can meet like-minded people. And most importantly, however, I think is to sign up for workshops, rather more like, I mean, it's even more important than societies to sign up for different workshops that societies are holding. You can go to any workshop of any society. There could be a fee, it could be free, anything. But workshops, I think, broaden your horizon in the sense that you meet people from outside. For example, just yesterday, I was a part of the information interviewing workshop where we had alumni from our department come, and then we had to just speed interview them within 10 minutes, ask everything about their job. What do they like, what do they not like, what would they have done differently while they were in our courses. And so I think it was a very eye-opening experience, and also a very reaffirming fact that I will be able to get a job and do some amazing work, because all of them were so inspiring, and they had just graduated in 2018, 19, and they were just a senior. So I think workshops like that, and their public speaking workshops, their academic writing workshops. So I think when you're here, you should ideally make the most out of it, but also not get burnt out. So I do carve spaces for myself where I just lay in bed all day, because I need to recharge my energy, because they say here, especially in UCL, that a postgraduate degree is just like a full-time job. You have to give up to 8 to 9 hours every day to your degree in order to excel. Be it the research papers, be it class discussions, every class has a group activity happening, and we are divided into different groups. So that also forces us to work with other people if you're reluctant, and come out of your shell basically, and let your personality shine, as I said. And it's very important to also take space, because you're here and you're not supposed to be very timid, and you're supposed to open yourself to different experience, and you never know what you might end up liking and make your career, or just make it an important part of your life. So I think that's been very inspiring for me, and I think that's why as I got out of my comfort zone, I also applied for the student rep. That was in the first week. I had no clue about how to navigate. It was my first time studying abroad, and it was just a lucky thing, and I am the student rep of my course, and I think that also gives me a lot of opportunities. I have discussions with my professors, a one-to-one discussion with my professor. I have a say in if a person's feeling in my cohort uncomfortable about something. I think I have the power to make a difference this way, and I can just talk to people that way, in that authority, and that's emancipating that way. Yeah.
Yeah, great. It's all about experience actually, and it's all
Absolutely.
about you embracing that experience, because for this experience only you're traveling across the oceans, not just for like degree, but of course for the experience. The experience creates the whole difference in your journey. And my next question is actually, most of it is already answered.
Yeah.
The question was that how UCL has helped you grow as a person, but I believe you've already answered that, and all your answers have already addressed and testified to that growth that you've received at UCL. So I'm not going to bore you with that question, but of course, if you want to
No, it's
put
okay.
any other point into this, we are happy to hear.
I could talk endlessly, honestly, about it. I mean, yes, definitely. So I think UCL has really added to my knowledge and skills, way that I did not imagined before. For example, it could be my oratory skills or my presentation skills, because I think every other class we have presentations, which is very unique, which is not really the case. So it's basically interactive learning. So you have the lecture in the first half of the class, and then you have group activities. So, and very meaningful group activities. For example, you're given a case study and you're critically analyzing everything. So I think critical analysis, presentation and oratory skills, public speaking, academic writing as well. So before coming here, I did not have much experience with academic writing. I could write articles and reports, stuff like that, but then not true academic writing where you have to quote and cite other researchers. So I think that is a very necessary skill you want to have in any career that you choose. And I think UCL really helped me cultivate it. I'm still learning about it. And other thing, I think I'm just more compassionate and more empathetic to other people as well, because I think I realize that all of us are in the same boat. All of us are confused, but really happy to be here. And we are just trying to, see ourselves, see our future, and carve it right now. And this has been the case. And I've met so many people. So I think the extrovert inside of me is very, very happy. I've met so many people. I've made great friendships. It's actually absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
It is always wonderful to hear you as well. I always love chatting with you, to be very honest. But I didn't realize that we're almost near our closing time.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I still have a couple of questions. And
Yeah.
I am pretty sure even the viewers who's going to watch this session, they will thoroughly enjoy the whole conversation that we guys are having. All thanks to you.
Oh,
Now,
no, all thanks to you.
no, on a very serious note, it's very important. Like we always talk about this, that the student needs to enjoy the course they are pursuing, or anybody who's in any walk of life, even if you're working, you need to enjoy the work, enjoy the process that you are into. And you actually do. It shows, it comes on your face also, it comes in a smile, it comes while you're talking about the whole thing. There's a spark to it. And
Right.
that's
Thank
what
you
makes
so
it
much.
so lively.
Thank
So
you so much.
all the best with, and keep going like this only. You have already given multiple advices for any person who is just listening to this session since start till end. But still, if you want to make some bullet points kind of advice for anyone who's planning to study abroad, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I do have a couple of bullet points, because this is something that I've realized after coming here. And so number one is, as I said, choose universities very, very wisely. Prioritize your course over university, number one, and then your university over the city that you're going to, because I think the universities can also give you a lot of opportunities. You can have a lot of experiences with respect to it. And it's very important to very carefully choose your university and your course. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to cities like New York, anywhere in the US, or anywhere in the UK, it is very expensive, especially in London. Right now, the rent is inflated, all-time high, tuition fees all-time high, and we're basically graduating into a recession. So everything may seem like it's doomed, but it's not. So I think with a little tweaks, you can make your life here much, much, much more affordable and happier, I think, that way. For example, I avail student discounts almost everywhere on all the sales, in every outlet. For example, London is very student oriented city. So I think almost all outlets have student discounts. I avail them. You can get a job right away. But as I said, as a postgraduate, it's very difficult to commit to a job because there's a lot of coursework already happening. So that should not be the focus. The focus should always, always be your degree, because that's why you're here. Funds, you can earn all of it back, definitely. And I do realize that it's going to be very difficult for people who are living paycheck to paycheck this way. But then again, if you're here for studying, I think I would generally suggest that if your part-time job is taking away from your study time, then you should probably rethink that, because I see it happening with a lot of people. They're not able to do justice to their assignments while they're working 8 hours in their part-time job a day. So that's a lot. And the other thing I would suggest would be I made some bullet points. Yeah. So track your expenses. Definitely. It's very expensive to eat out. And it's like, especially for me as a vegetarian, it's not even worth eating out. The food is very bland, so I would rather prefer to cook at home. So like, in order to, I haven't really talked about the expenses yet. If you don't mind me
Yeah, we
giving
will
an
cover that.
overview.
We will cover that. Yeah.
All right, perfect,
Yeah.
sure. And the other advice would be to write your own SOP, as I've already discussed, to do your own research, to not depend on people. Um, yeah, I think that's the gist. And have a great time, have a blast here. Be open to a lot of new experiences and to new people. You never know who you're gonna be best friends with later. And yeah.
Right. Be planned, be open to experience. And yeah, there is always light. Whenever there is an end, there is always a light. So
Absolutely, yeah.
just don't worry about the recession or any other thing, but makes
Right,
sense. Great. Now you are living in a student accommodation, like in a PBSA, but a
right,
lot of students still prefer to live in apartments.
right.
What is the difference as a student, if I talk about, like, what is the difference between a student housing and an apartment?
All right. So I have a couple of friends living in apartments, but when I was coming here, the idea was very daunting to me, to have a household, to by myself, run it by myself, everything. And it's just too much. You have to pay for the Wi-Fi, the council tax, there are a bunch of rules. You never know on the internet if the property is actually there or if it's a scam. That was one worry that I had almost every time that I was looking at private properties, apartments mostly. And I think the added costs are a lot. You pay for electricity, you pay for the water bill, the council tax, as I said. So you're managing everything on your own. So I think if you're coming to a city for the first time, it could be a little daunting and scary. So that's why I chose for a student accommodation, because I also think staying at an apartment, I think limits your interaction and your experiences as well. Because in a student accommodation, for example, I'm living in a student accommodation with about 300 to 400 people easily, and there's so many people to talk to and so many people to make friends with, especially that I'm coming to London for the first time. And it was very important for me to, because it can be really hard and lonely sometimes. So I think it's very important. I think that's the reason that I'm having such a great time here, because I have found my people and my friends everywhere, at the university and at the accommodation. So it's very important for you to be comfortable at your accommodation, and you shouldn't really worry about the things that can easily be taken care of at a student accommodation. So I'm having a very, very good time here. And if you go to a trusted agent, for example, or a company like University Living, and that's what I did. I was looking at a couple of options that were coming my way. I talked to the agents. I absolutely really enjoyed talking to the agent who was helping me at every step of the way with respect to the payments or understanding. Because London, you don't know the city, you don't know how far should your accommodation be. You've no idea which places are the safer parts of the city, or the risky parts of the city. So I had no clue, and I had 2 months to figure a living situation. So it was very, very it could have been very scary, and it could have been very daunting, but I mean, gladly I chose University Living to book my accommodation, and it was one of the best decisions I made while coming here, because I was not at all, I knew everything. I knew that I had to meet this person at the reception, get my keys, be here, what are my rights as a tenant, what are the things under my contract, what are the things that I can or cannot do. So I think everything was very clearly stated out for me, and if I would be doing that myself, that would have been very, very difficult.
Right, right. Thank you so much for giving such a great review also. But yeah, in the meantime, if I talk about not just about the expense part or what toll this activity takes on a student life and their balance, but if you talk about rules and regulation, every country, every city has their own rules and regulation, and it definitely varies from your domestic country. If I say, so like you mentioned that there is some taxes apart for an apartment, you are not aware about this. Just in case if you miss this, that will impact your life for a couple of days, and that can, like when you're moving to a new country, with no support of your parents or anyone, that's really very frightening. It's always suggestible to, at least for initial months, you should definitely go for a student accommodation, just in case if you are not very much sure to book it for throughout the year. And
I
as you mentioned that in masters over there, it's like a full-time job. So if you already have a full-time job, you can't manage your home also at the same time. And
Right.
it's very important when you come back home, it should feel like home. It should be
Exactly.
safe,
Yeah.
it should be happy, it should be chirpy, so that it can change your mind immediately rather than just
Yeah.
giving you another task like, okay, now I have to clean, I have to call the plumber. So that should not be the case
Yeah.
as a student. So
And
yeah.
it's also very expensive here. I mean, all electricians and plumbers, it's not like in
Yeah.
India. It's everything's very organized, as it should be. They're paid the very fair wage, but then while it's good for them, it's really difficult as a student to manage all of that if things are breaking. Because a lot of the housing in London is very, very old. I mean, they're older, definitely older than we are, and could be probably hundreds of years old. I mean, it's very, very difficult to maintain a house. So I think I really like my sanctuary. I like my room. I've put up posters and photos and
Yeah, we
everything.
can
So
see
it
very
feels,
nice painting, to be
yeah.
honest.
So it feels very nice. It feels very comfortable. Plus, it's very nice to share my kitchen with my flatmates as well. That's why I chose for an ensuite rather than an apartment, or rather than a studio, because I really wanted to have that interaction. So I am absolutely glad I made this decision. Thankfully, I was hooked up with the best flatmates ever. They're so helpful. And especially in times when you're sick or you're feeling low or you're missing home. So I think it's even more special to have people who care for you
Right.
here. So
True,
yeah,
true. You don't feel lonely. And that's very
absolutely.
important, because there will be many times that you will feel homesick. But if you have people around you and if you see celebration, happiness, slowly and
Yeah,
gradually, as it is said, that happiness is very contagious. So it will, affect you also, and you also start
right.
feeling normal and happy about it. Right. So we are done actually. We are almost done. We are done, to be honest.
Sure.
But my favorite question is here, where we're talking about the expenses as well. So
Right.
London is the most expensive city in UK, if I talk about.
Yeah.
How do you manage your cost of living, and what
Right.
tricks you want to share with student, and what exactly is the cost of living in London for a student?
All right. So I'll start with a breakdown of the cost that I have experienced so far. So rent could be anywhere around 800 to £1,000 per month. For example, I pay £245 per week, which is definitely a lot. But then since I applied very late, I actually booked my accommodation 3 weeks before coming here. So it was very last minute. But if you're smarter than I am and you book your accommodation in advance, you could get it for much, much cheaper and much closer to your university campus. I would definitely suggest you to take the accommodation closer to your university campus, the metro or the tube, as they say, call it here. The underground subway is very expensive. The trains here are extremely expensive. They're not subsidized at all. They're not at all like back home. That's why I miss Delhi and the Delhi metro, but it's okay. It could cost you anywhere between I think £6 per day. Yeah, £6 to £7 per day if you're going from zone. So the entire city is divided into different zones. There's zone 1 where most universities are. There's zone 2, and I live in zone 3. It's like concentric circles, and the closer you are to main city, that's the zone 1. Yeah. So if you travel from a farther zone to a nearer zone, and so it could be, the prices vary. For me, it's about 600 rupees or £6 per trip to college, which is very, very expensive. And at the same time, as I said, grocery runs can be expensive as well. But it's definitely much, much more cheaper than eating out. Definitely. I mean, each meal outside can cost you anywhere between £5 to £10. And that's on the lower side. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're feeling fancy, it could go, there's no limit, honestly. London has no limit for expenditure. You can spend a lot. And so the trick is to actually survive on the money that you have. And I think the best thing is to budget. and make your grocery runs. Like, for example, rather than running for grocery every day, probably buy in bulk for a week and then try to make it last and be creative. Any weekly grocery run could cost you around anywhere between 20 to 40 pounds. That's 2,000 to 4,000 rupees. Right now, the conversion is easy, but not preferable. It's just like you
Yeah,
add.
I
Yeah,
think any student, especially who's traveling from India, should not do the conversion, because once you start
yeah,
doing it, you start feeling, oh my God, how much I'm spending. So
exactly.
you
It's
should skip
really
this part.
scary.
Don't
Yeah.
convert.
Yeah, so I'm coming to terms with it, definitely. But there are definitely many opportunities to earn. For example, you can start a part-time job, or it does not have, so there are different types of part-time jobs. It does not have to be a contractual part-time job where you commit your 20 hours per week. Also, a tip for people, you only get 20 hours per week to work as an international student on a student visa here in London as a postgraduate. And I think it's up to 40 hours per week in holidays for undergrads. So be mindful of that. You wouldn't want to break any visa rules. And when you're working, there are different working expectations and situations that you can be a part of. For example, I'm looking forward to do stints. So stints is basically you choose the place that you want to work for. For example, they're hiring part-time workers for waiting and other services, and it's for like bar cleaning or restaurant, just like a general cleaning of the
Yeah.
restaurant, something like that. And you can do it, and the minimum pay here is, I believe, 9.8 pounds per hour. So you can earn a lot if you judiciously use your time and find out great companies to work with. There's some meaningful work as well. If you want to tutor, that's great. There are a lot of teaching opportunities here as well. And for example, I'm looking for remote jobs, because as I said, it's very difficult for me to the course in itself is very demanding. So I would rather prefer to have a part-time job that's online and virtual. So I'm still looking for that. I shall keep you updated as it when it happens. And so London is definitely expensive.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And I think apart from the job part, it's also very important, which you mentioned, to keep a track of the expense that you guys are doing.
absolutely. Yeah,
And yeah, if you're eating out, then 20 pounds is nothing if you're eating out. But yeah,
right.
that 20 pound can be that whole week's grocery. If
Absolutely. Yeah.
so, it's you who has to be mindful about the expense and about any decision that you're taking, because you are living that life and you know what you want to live like right now
Right.
in present, or what you want to live like in future. So
Right.
that creates a lot of difference. Now, before we end, any final 2 cents for the viewers?
Okay, so it may seem really glorious to living abroad and being in these great universities, which it is. But then there are different points of time where you may feel low and you may feel very confused. And then you feel like you've committed so much time and money to this degree, or for example, you just would want to change. And there are a lot of things that happen, especially if you have no support system here. If your family or your friends or relatives are back home, then it can be very difficult and it can be very daunting. And I think it's very important to, regain your strength, to actually believe in yourself, because there have been days when I was thinking, why am I even doing this degree? And I think it was in the first week. And I just, I had to sit myself down and talk to me that this is something that you always wanted. This is the life that you really wanted for yourself. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to study abroad, and think about, like, look around for the opportunities, and just give it time, be patient. And it actually did wonders for me. I'm having a wonderful, wonderful time here, and I can't wait to see what's more out there. And if you have any, you could also link my Instagram in the video. And if people have any other questions regarding life in London, because that's what I can talk about right now, or at UCL, just hit me up, let me know, and find people. There are a lot of people looking forward to support students much like myself and yourself, who are trying to create a life for themselves outside of India. So I think there's a lot of support system out there. It's a matter of looking for
Just
it.
ask for help, and there are
Yeah,
many hands to help you out. Right. And you'll find all the details in the description. You can also meet Janvi on our community. She'll be happy to answer your questions over there as well.
sure. Yeah.
So, on the note that you have to be patient and trust yourself, trust the process, trust the life that you want. Just look at that bigger picture that you want, keeping in mind that the best things comes after the most difficult trek and journey that you do. So, keeping that in mind, we'll close our session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found it useful. Looking forward to seeing you guys next Friday at 5 p.m. Stay tuned to our social media handles for more information. Thank you so much, Jan, for joining us.
Thank you so much.